data's the compass, but it's humanness and feeling seen where you really make an impact in marketing and business and life.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Behind the Franchise podcast, where we try to pull the curtain behind some of the great brand builders and marketers and operational folks behind great franchise businesses and sometimes just businesses in general. I am your host, Paul Ehlinger, the founder and CEO of Flamel.ai, and we're super lucky today to be joined by our guest, Jay Kallman. Welcome, Jay, to the show.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. I know you're calling out of Minneapolis. Yeah, Minnesota up there.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be Minnesotan of me if I didn't mention the weather.
Yeah,
And
it's
so it is like 30 degrees here, but it's sunny, which we haven't had in a while, so it's all good.
you know what? We're rocking sun for the first time here in Cincinnati in like 2 weeks, and it's reborn me. I walked outside for lunch and I was a new man.
Amazing.
Well, no, thanks again, Jay, for joining us. I appreciate it. So you're currently just started your business. We were just chatting about this beforehand.
Yeah.
Revvy Marketing just getting online, getting the new business buzz around it. Before we get into that, maybe give us your background. Who are you? Why are you here? And what do you do today?
Oh my gosh. Okay, who am I? So I have lots of things, but what we're here to talk about, marketing. I've been in marketing for over 15 years, uh, and I love it. I just love it. Why do I love it? Um, I would say I come to the world really curious.
Mm,
And so that has served me very well in that field. And so out of college, I went to work at a leadership and development company
mm,
where we served clients like Anytime Fitness,
wow.
did some of their leadership and development initiatives, and Wax in the City, did some things for Jimmy John's franchisees. And it just kind of started my love for that. I was also
Yeah.
raised by an entrepreneur. So it's just like in my bones
Hmm.
to like love on anyone with that in their spirit. And I would then go on to do some consulting work after leaving there after 10 years. And that got lonely. And so I joined a restaurant SaaS company where
Hmm.
they worked with a lot of QSR, fast casual restaurants to serve them their operational reporting dashboards.
Hmm.
And then I thought, well, what's next? And
Yeah.
after, exploring all of the options, it was like, okay, I built stuff for so many others. I want to build it for me, among other reasons, right?
Yeah.
Why we get into this whole entrepreneur thing. And then came Revvy. And it's Revvy because I love data and
Hmm.
tying everything I can to revenue, but at the same time, there's this humanness.
Yeah.
I always say data's the compass, but it's humanness and feeling seen where you really make an impact in marketing and business and life.
Yeah, no, I love that, and it's honestly it's one of my favorite things. So I'm an engineer by training, so I'm very one side of my brain, right? And I think for me, I find my creative expressions through like cooking or through like going to a museum. I'm very not creative with my hands or doing. How do you balance that? Because I think that's what's so fascinating. Like your background really is very analytical, I would say, right? You do a
Yeah.
lot on the quantitative side, and it's super important when it comes to revenue operations and justifying marketing spend as an investment, right? How do
Yeah.
you balance that, and how do you kind of hone your skill set between those two?
I think it comes back to again curiosity.
Hmm.
Like I want something to tell me directionally, if it's a number that can do that,
Yeah.
like let's find that. And if you don't have it, let's build it because we
Hmm.
know, there's just basic metrics that we want to be looking at from a marketing revenue perspective. Um, but then on the other side, I'm just fascinated by people. And I think
Hmm.
it was my 10 years at that leadership and development company that just made me have a fire for seeing others and
Hmm.
having others feel seen. And it's so much more than marketing, than owning a business than, running ads. It's like there's humans behind that.
Yeah.
And so how do we marry the two and have win-win uh, situations, campaigns, products, interactions, experiences?
Yeah, I love that. And you've got a breadth of knowledge just across multiple types of franchises, even in multiple industries of franchises, right? Maybe what have been some of your biggest takeaways for great instances how they've blended that, right? They've found who the human connection is in their brand, and
Yeah.
then they're really driving that through. Because I'm assuming that's really a core to what Revvy is, right? Like you've learned these two skill sets, and now you're just bringing them together for the clients that you're working with there.
Yeah. How do we bring them all? A common thread is really having alignment on what are your goals?
Hmm.
Like, why are you in it? What are
Yeah.
you doing? Why like, and if there's a sense of purpose and a North Star,
Yeah.
then I feel like everything else you're able to run towards. So if your North Star is, uh, you know, I want to grow,
Sure.
which is like all of ours,
Yeah,
right?
something about
Um,
revenue matters. Yeah.
right? Revenue does matter. Then it's like, okay, do I have the systems in place? Is my technology
Hmm.
working? Are things optimized? What is the current process?
Yeah.
And it's hard, right? Because if you're looking at it from the perspective of running your business, oftentimes you have to wear, at least in the beginning, all the
All
hats.
of the hats. Yeah.
And so, like, which I am very much so experiencing now. I'm like, wait, I have to calculate all these, like, there's expensive, there's like dashboards everywhere. And like, I'm
Wait
not
till
an
you start calculating your EBITDA
accountant.
margins.
Oh, shoot. Like, so then it's identifying, okay, what's the one thing in each of
Mm,
those categories that I need to run after that will make
yeah.
the biggest impact in my business?
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense, and I think I love that you call that out. That it's very goal driven because I think looking at Revvy, it's one of my favorite things about the brand you're building there. You're so blatantly obvious, and I mean that in a good way about what your values are, right? And
Yeah.
what I love about your values, as you call them out in your North Stars, they're kind of esoteric, right? Like they're not. From what I normally see, the values that people put into a company, right? You've got like clear is kind, energy is currency, play, done.
Yeah.
Play period is a thing. Um, Tell me, like, what influenced those? How did you get to those? And then how do you express those with your clientele that you're working with? I think from our perspective at Flamel, something I do is whenever we have an all hands meeting, we
Hmm.
literally go through our mission, vision, values at the beginning. Every single one of them. Every time we
Yeah.
have a board meeting, we go through it at the beginning. And it's because, in my opinion, to express your values, you have to know what they are and you have to do them every day. Like they drive the small decisions that make the big impact. How
Yeah.
do your values and your North Stars like play out with Revvy?
Oh my gosh. Okay. If I were to give one thing to share, it would be this: identify just what you're talking about, identify your North Stars as a team.
Hmm.
And this comes from my 15 years working in teams, leading teams, building teams. Anytime I would start in a new spot, I would build a North Star document,
Hmm.
and there would be these little isms. Everything's figureoutable. Final draft first has been one, which just means don't submit shit work. Like you
Yeah.
submit what you're proud of, do what you're proud of.
Yeah.
Um, Uncommon, like
Yeah.
no, like own being uncommon. Like
Mm-hmm.
you need to figure out a way to stand out. What
Yep.
is that? So whatever those North Stars are, every time a new team member came on, they had veto power and they had a
Interesting.
say to add.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where a lot of this comes from is if you don't have your North Stars, you're going to struggle when you go in the mud.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's times where you're going to need to rally your teams and rally your clients, and if you don't have that direction, it's really hard. Or
Yeah.
if you're not on the same page, then it's really hard because then you can pull it up and be like, "Hey, everything is figure outable.
Yeah.
So let's explore what our
Let's just
options are."
relax. We can figure this out.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
okay. Like that's the other, maybe that should be one too. Like
It's okay.
it's going to be okay. It's going to, I
Yeah.
promise. Like you've survived 100% of your bad days.
I one of my friends I was recently talking to has a poster in the back of his wall on his like office that says everything's going to be all right 10, 15 times just in a line. And I'm like, honestly, a great thing to put up because sometimes you just need that reminder.
Yes, seriously.
How do you see that playing out, within the franchise system? So again, you've worked across many of them, and I think that gets harder and harder and harder to live by those values and North Stars when there's 200 business owners running that business system underneath you, right? And I think, you talk about it with the team context. How do you see that context being played out across these larger scale franchise brands?
Yeah, well, I can speak to it from, my 15 years has often been on the supplier side, so
Yeah.
partnering with both brands and franchisees. And I think one
Mm-hmm.
of the biggest things is aligning on transparency.
Mm.
How is everyone showing up? What are the needs? Really thinking about all the stakeholders and coming up with essentially enablement, right? Like, how do
Mm-hmm.
we enable success across both sides,
Yeah.
across any brand? Like, what does that look like? And I think so often we don't take the time to sit back and say, what does success look like?
Yeah.
Or when we hop on a call, here's the goal. By the end of this call, we're going to have achieved XYZ. And
Mm-hmm.
thinking about listing who are the stakeholders. Okay, I need to be able to, if I'm launching something into a system, you know what? The FBCs need to know about it before before franchisees know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, really thinking about all the lines of communication so that I like this whole thing of no surprises.
Yeah.
When it comes to communication, I like
Yep.
Easter eggs in an experience, like, oh, that was
Right.
fun,
Ooh, fun.
but not like a communication
Hmm.
rollout
Not
surprise.
when it's like, hey, revenue's down 10%, surprise.
Yeah, like transparency, I think, is key.
Yeah, um, I absolutely agree. I think that it's so big, and I think people feel awkward about it because they feel awkward when the transparency is telling people bad news.
Mm,
Because I think so much of business is up and to the right. Like everything has to go up and right every month, month over month. But you
yeah,
kind of called it out. Like you're gonna hit the mud someday, and you're not gonna go up and right. And if you haven't practiced the transparency muscle, it's gonna
yeah.
feel really awkward when you actually try to then deliver weird, uncomfortable news that affects everybody.
And it's okay. This is why it's one of Revvy's values, clear is kind.
Yeah.
It would be a disservice to not share that hard stuff,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like, let's just acknowledge it and just say the thing so we can move on. And I always look at it too, like this is a common saying, but I do think there's a lot of value. Data is data. It's neither
Mm.
good nor bad. It just is. It's our
Yeah.
indicator. It's an opportunity
Mhm.
um, to figure stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. We can cuss on this podcast. You can figure shit out. It's okay.
Catch
Well,
it.
there's
I'm
a little
like,
catch there. I appreciate it though. I generally have to catch myself a ton. I'm curious, and I mean I love that take. Data is data. Absolutely, it doesn't mean anything. Like you have to figure out and how to change the direction of what you're doing based on that data. When
yeah.
you are working with a client, right? Context of Revvy, what's your first step? Like, how do you kind of start aligning people around some of these ideologies? Like what's kind of the advice somebody could take from this podcast that they're listening to and say, hey, this is how Revvy does it. This is how Jay does it. She's great at what she does. So how can I implement some of those strategies or tactics, as you're starting to work with a client?
Yeah. I'm like, what you see is what you get.
Hmm.
And so your vibe attracts your tribe. See, I've got all these
Yeah.
little isms that you'll hear.
Speaking of isms, you've got them. Yeah.
Yes. So like you either are on board with that style of like, hey, I'm going to just give it to you how it is. And I'm going to share some ideas. Some of them might sound uncomfortable,
Mm,
but let's just play it out. Cause at the end of the day, we both have the same goals.
yeah.
So I think it's being really clear and upfront,
Mm,
um, and not holding back. Like if something's really hard about a brand, just say it. Like if the branding it could be better or could like have if there are opportunities, like just call it out because that's what
yeah.
I'm here for is to provide another perspective
Yeah.
and a path towards helping you reach your goals.
Yeah. Do you see? commonalities amongst maybe aspects of the brand they're building, of aspects of the marketing strategy they have that people are frequently struggling with these days, that you come
Yes.
in and you're like, oh, there it is again? Like, what do some of those look like?
Basics.
Yeah.
It's the foundations.
Hmm.
Anytime I'm coming in, it is a foundational assessment. There's some kind of crack there.
Yep.
It's not knowing actually who you're selling to. Like, it
Mm.
might be up here, up in your mind, or but it hasn't been documented. And
Hmm.
so that's really hard to scale when it's up in your mind, but not everyone
Yeah.
about it.
Something beautiful
Um,
about a Google document, you know?
yeah, right. Or it hasn't been revisited in years.
Hmm.
And especially, like, our world, marketing and business is changing so fast.
Yep.
And we need to be able to keep up, and that's something we need to revisit. So oftentimes it's understanding who their customer is.
Hmm.
And I like to call it, or building their lead engine.
Yeah.
Systems are all over the place, really aligning sales, marketing, and operations to
Hmm.
flow seamlessly together. So it is a quick, like, at the end of the day, we're here for speed too.
Yeah.
So increasing speed from the time someone thinks of what you're offering all
Yeah.
the way through the time someone gets to touch it through sales. So
Yeah.
really looking at that funnel and that sales process end to end.
Yeah, I think one of the points you touch on, so the episode will already have aired by the time this airs. So the last interview I did was with Brooke Budke, who was the president at Title Boxing and now runs her own agency called Momentum Brands. And she
Yes.
really talked about how people need to take Gen Z seriously. Like, they are becoming the next consumer. Like, they're getting to the age where they're a major economic mover for a lot of brands,
Yes.
especially in like the hit fitness and wellness spaces that are younger generation oriented. And she's like, a lot of the people she works with aren't adapting to it. They're not adapting to how they buy or why they buy or what their aspirations are.
Yeah.
Um, how do you think about that? How do you think about a brand, especially some more legacy brands? If you're around for 10, 15, 20 years and your client profile stays the same age, they're very different. They're a generation different of people, right?
Yeah. I think it comes back to, there's different maturity levels, right, of
Mm,
all the different brands. And
yeah.
so some are hyper focused and have the ability to really hone in on all the little data pieces. And if you're a brand that's new emerging, and kind of in that, like, in between, like,
Hmm.
I'm continuing to ramp up, um, I think you really need to be looking, regardless, but really looking at your data and
Hmm.
and consistently revisiting who your consumers are, who's engaging, who's buying, and really starting to collect as much of that data as you can,
Hmm.
um, to learn and get insight. But she's not wrong. Hey, Brooke. Uh, I think it's a brilliant point and something that everyone needs to be paying attention to.
Yeah, as people are, I think data is always this big word, right? And there's always all
Yes.
this stuff. And I think because of its breadth, it can be intimidating to people getting started on that. Like, as you're helping people kind of build out their go to market metrics or data, what are you saying is like, hey, revenue is obviously the North Star, but like, what should we really be tracking month over month to indicate if we're going to start having good revenue in the future? Like, what do you typically push people towards there?
Yeah, well, I mean, it can be depending on
Sure,
what,
yeah.
what uh, department you're a part of, but I'm really looking at things like, what's the cost to acquire your client? Like,
Hmm.
and it's going to be different on the brand side versus the franchisee side, right?
Yep.
Because they're both serving different audiences, but
Hmm.
it's really looking at, how are they coming in? How many leads are you generating? What is that conversion, that sales cycle?
Yep.
How much are they spending with you? What's
Yeah.
the lifetime value? And the list goes on and on. You could get granular. What are they doing on your website?
Yep.
How are you A/B testing? What are your CTAs? What's to figure out what's converting. Do you know what levers to pull?
Yeah.
Do they prefer texting? Do they prefer email, right? Like, I still think email is a strong lever, and it's one of
Yeah.
the cheapest, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
how do you maximize that? It's looking at your North Star, your revenue goal, but it's
Hmm.
also but what can I do today?
Yeah.
And what kind of tools do I currently have today that I can optimize?
I I love that from the perspective of I don't think enough people work their way backwards. Like, say
Mm,
you want to make $1 million this quarter, you have to do all those conversion percentages back all the way up to like,
yes.
okay, that means I have to send 20,000 emails, I have to take 100 phone calls, I have to get, in my world, 20 demos or whatever that number is.
Yes.
Um, that's very contextualizing as you're setting goals to be like, oh wow, actually, if I know these conversion numbers, it's like 0.05% of anybody I interact with is ever going to buy something from me.
Oh my goodness.
And it
Yes.
makes you realize that quantity and quality really do matter in marketing. There's a lot of touch points necessary.
Oh, for sure. And I err on the side of quality all day long. Like I
Yeah.
would rather have fewer leads and not waste sales time, right?
Yep.
Or your business development reps time. Like
Hmm.
let's serve up quality versus quantity all day.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Absolutely agree. Um, as you think about, you spent a lot of time dashboarding for QSRs, right?
Mm,
And operational efficiencies. I think that's a very different view than if you're working with a brand new brand, right? Like they don't have efficiencies to talk about. They don't have a system. Like, do you have a preference for stage of company you're working at, or servicing, or tell me about that. Like, your journey now as a very small, brand new month old company, back to working at a much larger company.
Gosh, that's a hard one because they're all playgrounds to me.
Yeah.
I think one that's more, you know, established but emerging,
Hmm.
uh, is really fun because they have some of those systems and have proof of concept. But then it really becomes, okay, well, we started to grow
Yeah.
and it happened faster than we thought, or we forgot that we needed to connect ops and sales and marketing and also serve our franchisees
Right.
in
We're
like
breaking as we grow.
yeah, like flying the plane. What did they say? Building the
Build the
plane
plane
and
after you
flying
jump
it.
off the cliff. Yep.
Yeah. And so I love to be able to come in and just say, it's okay. Like
That's the
we
game we chose to play.
yeah, we got this. Let's figure outable. And here's exactly how we're gonna do
Yeah,
it. And which can, there's so much variance in that.
sure.
But um I love the end-to-end process. I love going beyond getting out of my marketing lane to
Yep.
really pull everybody together. Because I
Hmm.
think that's where some of the biggest struggles happen is when everyone has different goals
Yeah.
and there's misalignment and you don't know how to rally or what data you should be looking at or what
Incentive alignment controls
yeah,
almost everything in life. The older I get, the
right?
more I'm like, my wife and I have to have our incentives aligned. My friends and I's incentives need to be aligned.
Seriously,
Everyone I work with or talk to,
yes.
absolutely. One of the other things that I think you bring across with how you talk about it is, there is this creative and emotional and personal side to building a company and building a brand and marketing, alongside all that quantitative side. Um, Actually, today was talking to a friend at Bloom and Blind. Shout out Bloom and Blinds, they're another franchise. And she was talking about how their onboarding process, she tries to make it as systemic as possible
Hmm.
because franchisees are going through this emotional roller coaster of
Yeah.
starting a new business, right? They're like, whoa, we're starting a business, excited. And then they're like, oh my God, you got to do all these things, like this is crazy. Um, Curious, how that's going for you. Like you're a
Yeah.
very knowledgeable person. You're a systems builder. You're a figureoutable person. Revvy's now this baby of a company that's just being unleashed to the world. Are you taking your own advice? Is it helping? Is
Oh,
it working?
geez. I would say it takes a village.
Good.
And right, like know where your strengths are
Hmm.
and know where you need help. I
Yeah.
would say that. And I think I'm not afraid to reach out to a complete stranger who I
Hmm.
see is doing it right
Yeah.
and saying, "Hey, can I buy you a coffee? I just
Yeah.
need or can you hop
What's
on a Zoom
going on here?
call?"
How do you do
Like
this?
what I've found is people are so generous.
Hmm.
So generous with their time and their expertise and um I feel like that's part of the reason why Revvy is what it is today.
Hmm.
Like this isn't just a my baby. This
Yeah.
is a culmination of so many people that have helped me and been generous and gracious and want to see me win and see
Yeah.
others win. And so I think part of it is just paying it back. So I would say, A, know you're going to be just fine. B, know where your strengths are and where you need help. And that's part of the brands too. They'll help
Mm.
you and reach out, phone a friend, ask a franchisee within your system who's been in it for a while.
Yeah.
Ask them for their perspective. Doesn't hurt to reach out and ask.
No. I mean, I do it all the time.
Right?
I'm such a stand for LinkedIn. It's the nerdiest thing about me. But hear me out. You can like see somebody's expertise on full display, and to your point, you can message anybody. Just be like, "Hey, I've got this idea, or
Yeah.
this thought, or this thing," or like to your point, "Wow, that campaign you guys did was sick. How the heck can I do that?" And people are almost all the time it's like, "Here you go, just steal it, do it. This is what it is." You know what I mean? It's wild.
Yes. It's like just this amazing I think that's a part of it too. I just believe people at their core are so good and just want to help.
Yeah.
And so all your action item is reach out.
Right.
And if they don't answer or say no, move on. Find
Yeah.
someone else will.
Somebody else absolutely will. Just hit another
Yeah.
person up. Yeah. It is people celebrate the doers, you know. I think there's a lot of people that feel the
Like
fear of not doing, and you just kind of if you're a doer, like people react to it. They want to do something with you because it's good energy, you know?
yeah. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna take that with me. Thank you.
Steal that ism. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like whenever I try to do an ism, I like misphrase two different analogies, and then it becomes some weird butchered thing. But whatever, it is what it
Why mine are like 2 words. 1 to 3
is. There you
words
go.
max.
Yeah, play is a great ism. You know, like I can
Okay.
remember that. Period. I think I would be remiss. I run a somewhat AI company. You know, what does marketing look like moving forward in your mind? I think um, I think two things about the world, right? I think AI absolutely is a foundationally changing technology. I think it also drives people to want more humanistic experiences
Mhm.
and more quality over quantity. And so, you know, when we think about building that, we think about cool. It's a workflow tool. Like we don't want to put out fake things. We want to make the effort and the time and the resources spent to create that thing less.
Yeah.
How do you see that playing out in the world of marketing?
Oh my goodness. I think yes to everything you said. And I would say if I were to double down from a brand perspective, and I'm not talking about like brand, I'm talking about whether you're a franchisee, whether you're tech,
Hmm.
SaaS, a actual brand. I think two places to double down in are building trust,
Hmm.
right? Like showing your humanness. Stuff doesn't have to be this big production. In fact, I almost feel like it's more authentic
Yeah.
and relatable when you just put it out there. So I think that building trust is big, and really honing in on the people you're serving. Like,
Yeah.
how are you adding true value to their life? Um, because I think to your point with all the AI stuff, it's awesome, a time saver. It's evolving every day, if not
Quite
every
literally.
hour.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot to understand, but I think that the humanness is exactly where you focus.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
How are you applying that to Revvy today? What does that look like in the context of your business?
Yeah. So
Outside
for
of
me,
just you being you, honestly, I think that's one of the things we connected on when we first talked. It was just like great vibes, you know, like we're the same kind of weird and the same kind of happy, you know.
yeah, yeah, different creature for sure.
Yeah.
Um, Revy just is like I feel like our clients who I'm looking to work with are, oftentimes purpose driven.
Mm,
They're very much so like, I just want to add value. I have this on my wall. I just want to be generous. Like as a
yeah.
marketer, as a human, I feel like there's a lot that just flows between showing up as a good person and good human and
Hmm.
doing that through your work. So it's be trustworthy. Do what you say you're gonna do.
Yeah.
just give
Yeah.
freely. Like, that's another thing from a marketing perspective. If you are in tech, just give. Don't gate it all. Like,
Right.
like maybe some of your pieces, but like, just
Have
give.
you seen our most recent, I don't know if maybe it's like 2 or 3 LinkedIn posts ago. Do you remember Home Improvement, the TV show in the 90s
Oh yeah.
with Tim the Toolman Taylor?
Oh my gosh, I had to hold back doing what he does, you know?
Yeah,
I was
we
like,
we we just launched a thing with me and my lead developer. It's called Tool Time with Matt and Paul, and
oh, I love
we're
it.
launching a free marketing tool every week. And
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think it's like in our we have a stage in our sales pipeline called demonstrating value, and it's like cool. I can demo a product to you, but if I don't create any value for you, you're not going to become a champion. You're not going to buy this product, right? And so
Yes.
I think we talk about that all the time. Like give
I love it.
value and give it out as abundantly as you can because it will return, right? It builds that
Oh,
trust, it builds that virality, it builds that just brand awareness and loyalty.
yeah. You just want to see everyone be successful.
Yeah.
Like, here you
It's
go.
more fun that way,
Way more fun. Way more
and then the
fun.
odds that you are somewhat successful go up at least a bit.
Yeah, like it comes back. I believe in karma.
Yeah. Absolutely agree. What's next for Revvy? Like what are the next 6 months look like for you? What are you excited about right now?
Gosh, great question. What do the next 6 months look like? Honestly, I'm building out quarter. I'm
Yeah.
building out quarter by quarter. But what I can share with you is continuing to just honestly show up.
Hmm.
That is my biggest like marching orders, just to continue to show up and serve.
Hmm.
And be able to provide some new ideas in different ways and not be afraid to just be bold and kind of be my own my
Lean
own
into it. Be your own
yeah,
weird.
just lead it into it. So
Yeah.
uh that's really what I'm focused on and continuing to build the engine. I
Yeah.
mean, and people listening, like when you're just launching something, there's a lot to continue to navigate.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, cool. Let's just keep building that plane and doing really great work with great people. I'm really proud of the work that I get to do,
That's
and
awesome.
have autonomy and yeah, just I'll be generous. If someone needs something, just reach out.
There you go, guys. Heard it here first. Reach out to Jay. I love that. I would love to jump to a fun section of the show,
Okay.
just rapid fire.
Yeah.
And so the idea, first thing that comes to mind, Rorschach test type of thing. 10 seconds on each question. How does that sound to you?
Yeah, let's do it.
Outside of Revvy, what brand do you admire most?
Oh gosh. Outside of Revvy, oh, I think it's gonna be Peloton. I've been a diehard for a really long time and I love fit tech.
I love that. I love that. What is your current favorite marketing tool or application you've used?
I think Claude.ai
Yeah.
for helping with copy and research.
Anthropic. Shout out Anthropic. It's my
Yeah.
LLM of choice as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a little more creative
Agreed.
than OpenAI. What's one thing most people don't know about you?
Oh
Other than
my
that, you can apparently grow a tropical plant in Minnesota.
Okay, then most people don't know this is a fake plant.
Okay. Okay, that's a great one. That doesn't count though. This is a real
And
plant.
most people gosh,
You're very open, so that's a tough question. And I don't mean that in a
really
negative way. I
am.
think you're
Like,
just like a generous with
I'm
your
just
time and energy.
yeah, I would say most people don't know. I know it's rapid fire. I've got three little humans
Yeah,
that I am just inspired by daily.
that's awesome.
Um, and so, you know what, being a mom and an entrepreneur and
What are your kids' names? We have to give them a shout out.
oh my gosh, Aspen, Kingsley, and Tova.
Shout out the children. Hope you guys are
Shout
having a great
out to
time. They're
children.
upstairs, right? There we
They're
go.
upstairs. Yeah, it's
Welcome
like,
to the podcast.
be quiet.
Don't be quiet. Play. It's a core value. It's a North Star.
That's what they would tell me. They would be like,
Mom, you
Mom,
told us to play.
yeah,
I love that. What is a marketing trend that you think people absolutely have to jump on?
Building trust, showing
Yeah,
love. Yeah,
yeah,
seeing their customers not as customers, but as human beings.
I love that. And then final one, what is the most effectual piece of professional advice you've ever received, and who
Be
gave it to you?
gracious.
Who gave you
Yeah.
that?
Honestly, I don't know that one person gave it
Mm,
to me.
a
It's just
career's
been
worth of knowledge.
yeah, it's been just something that I hear.
Hmm.
Otherwise, throughout Revvy and my own personal uh, brand, you'll see this statement of show love, and that
Yeah,
was given to me by Dr. Charlie Granis,
I
who
love that.
founded Leading Edge, that company that I worked for
Hmm.
the first 10 years. And show love is, I would say, a core value of mine.
That is awesome. Um, that wraps up the section. It was rapid fire. Thank you
That
for
was
joining.
fun. That
um,
was fun.
and as any good late night TV show host, I love to give you the last spot to talk about, sell anything you want to do, or share about Revvy or whatever you want people to know.
Oh my goodness. I guess I'm just grateful, one, for this time and for
Yeah,
everyone's ear. And you know what? If you're looking for a partner to entertain growth ideas and who really cares about the end-to-end process, sales, marketing, operations, and growing a lead engine that is heart and human first, Revvy is someone to reach out to. If not, let's just have coffee and like talk shop.
I love that. Okay, beautiful. So anybody who needs a coffee date or to grow their business
Either
in a
one.
clear, transparent, and human first manner, reach out to
Yes.
Jay.
Yeah.
Um, well,
Right?
Jay, thank you so much for being on the show. This was a great conversation. I really appreciate your time.
I loved it. Thank you so much, Paul. This was fun.
Absolutely. And everybody else, thank you for listening to us talk. We hope it added some value or at least entertainment to your life. And we appreciate you tuning in. And stay tuned for the next episode of Behind the Franchise coming up at some point in the next few weeks.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.